So I will call this regular board meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Police Commissioners to order at 6 o'clock. The roll call of commissioners, Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Williams. You're muted. Commissioner Cruz.
Williams here.
Williams here. Commissioner Cruz here. Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Commissioner Roach. For the record, we have a quorum. We also have the present Chief Porter, Captain John Cummings, among others that are going to be speaking soon. And I believe Councilwoman Martinez is on the line as well, who is scheduled to speak tonight. We'll entertain a motion for acceptance of the minutes of the regular board meeting held on November 21st.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Entertain the same motion for the minutes for the special board meeting of November 30th.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Acceptance of the special board meeting, which was held on December 6th. Entertain the same motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Same people.
Moved by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, last one is the acceptance of the minutes of the special board meeting held on December 7th. Entertain the same motion.
So moved.
It's been moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, all the minutes have been accepted. Moving on to the chief of police. Before we do it, for the record, Commissioner Farrow is present. Chief, good evening, and how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks. The floor is
Good.
yours.
All of the other board members.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to, as we wrap up this our last meeting of the year, just to highlight a couple of quick things and then talk about 2024. And then I have Captain Cummings on. He's going to talk about a big effort that we've undertaken to address some of the tractor trailer and abandoned auto issues, and also abandoned boats as well. But I'm not sure if you had a chance to see my year-end review on Facebook. If you have a chance, and if you have nothing to do and you want to hear a boring presentation, and if you want to get something to help you put you to sleep, take a listen to it. But just to highlight a couple of things. So as we have like another week or so of 2024, but our stats for the last several months have continued to trend down. Although we're our overall crime statistics are 6% above where they were this time last year. Our violent crime in our last couple of months continue to trend in a downward motion. Our shooting incidents continue to be down. Our shooting victims continue to be down, and our fatal shooting victims continue to be down. As I always state, our crime statistics are nothing but a measure for us to see how we're doing and how we should be repositioned. Always, it's how our citizens feel and their perception of what crime and how they feel in their communities is most important to me. So just to highlight and recap a couple of things, as we went through the year, our big push was obviously to re-engage with the community in a positive manner. And I think we've done that, and we're going to continue to look to do that as we go into 2024 in an even more aggressive manner. We're going to continue to do that. Also, as it relates to our hiring efforts, which was another big push for us in 2024. So we've hired 43 officers in 2024. And I'm sorry, 2023. And we're going to look to continue in 2024. We are currently processing some applicants now, and we anticipate and hope to conduct a couple of classes, in early to mid 2024. So look forward to that. So again, we've hired 43 officers in 2023. We also now have the ability to hire lateral transfers. So that should start within the next couple of weeks. Early next year, we will start taking on lateral officers as well. So that'll help us significantly improve our numbers. Our current PPOs, we call them, our field, the officers who are in the FTO program, the 23 who graduated a couple of months ago, they will be off of the field training officer program by the end of this week, some of them. So you'll see them on their own. They're going to be able to work on their own within the next several days. So what we want to do is, as we go into get further into the holiday season, we're going to put them out on some foot patrols for like a couple of weeks. And then unfortunately, once we get into January, they're going to have to fill into some open cars. Obviously, my goal and long-term goal and hope is that we get enough officers where we'll be able to have consistent, ongoing walking details, where officers will be out and about, consistently going long-term. We just still have to get to a point where we have enough officers to staff the regular patrols and calls for service before we could do that. So as we go into 2024, many of the things that I talked about earlier in the year and even during the selection process, I think we're finally at the point where we're going to be able to do some of those things. If you recall, during our interviews back in late 2022, I talked about really trying to civilianize a lot of positions. So we're finally at the point now where we're going to start advertising, or we have begun advertising for some positions that will help us. We'll be doing some civilianization, which will get more officers on the road and out of civilian positions that we've done in the past. So I'm looking forward to that. And we also are looking to experience with some different scheduling and reduction of squads to help us kind of consolidate some of our manpower in a way that would be more efficient for the department. So we're looking forward to doing that as well. Really excited about that. Some of the long-term goals that we are undertaking, I've met with my command staff, deputy chiefs and captains, and we've met with our state delegation, or we're going to be meeting with our state delegation. So some of the long-term goals we have in terms of some of the needs I think that we have. And I also had a meeting with a couple of our city council members, Councilmember Burns and Boyd and Amy Marie Vizzo. So we're entertaining a building. The mayor has allocated money in our budget to do a study, a feasibility study regarding the building. And I'm sure our police commissioners will be interested in being a part of that. I understand it's a long-term goal, and it's a big ask, but it's something that's needed. When they were at my office last Friday, we went to the front of the building, and the placard said that building was built, I believe, in 1966. So that's coming up on 58 years. And if you walk inside the building, you'll see 1966 staring right at you. There's not a whole lot of modernization to that building. So we do need to really it'll be past my tenure. But for the long-term future of the department, we really need to look at some building options, not only to help us be more attractive, but also to help us retain officers. And also, more importantly, or just as importantly, is to give the community a building that they can be proud of and that they can go in and do business and feel like they're in a professional police department. Notwithstanding, my officers do a professional job every day. All the people who work in that building, the civilians, we do an excellent job. So I just wanted to mention that. So we're also looking to once again try and get a range. We need a police range. I've been with the department as Captain Cummins 32 years, and during our entire 32-year career, we've never had our own police range. So we are entertaining that again, that we get our own range for our something that we have to do for our training purposes. So I would like to really go hard at that in 2024. A couple other things we're looking at scene traffic van for our traffic division. Make them more efficient when they can bring all they have a lot of modern equipment to scenes. We're looking at that. We're also looking at the possibility of creating a storage facility for a lot of our vehicles that we need for that we have to store for court and evidence and things like that. We just have to maintain, and so we're looking for a place that we can maintain those vehicles in a safe environment, and also an environment that will preserve the evidentiary value of those vehicles that we need for some court cases. We're trying to minimize the number of that we can that we hold on to, but we have to work that out with the state's attorneys because oftentimes those vehicles are used for court. So we're looking at doing that. One of the things that I want to explore, and this will be something that we'll do with the city council, with the board of police commissioners, and also our citizenry. Something the mayor and I kind of like talked about really briefly, and we really have to get back to it, is the possibility of red light cameras in the city of Bridgeport, if that's something that we want to entertain. I know the state has approved that. I know that the city of West Hartford and the city of Stamford have begun to do studies to see the viability of and the pros and cons for red light cameras. I think that is something that we should definitely entertain. With our manpower issues, that we're not able to do the traffic enforcement as we would like to do. So putting red light cameras in areas that are prone for high accidents or speeding would probably go a long way in helping us in that manner. But before we undertake anything like a red light camera program, obviously that's something we'd work with the Board of Police Commissioners, our city council, and also our citizens. They all need to be a part of some technology like that being introduced into the city. So definitely going to be looking into do that as well. But beyond that, I think we've made a lot of progress this year. We haven't made nearly enough progress that we want to make, but I think we're heading in the right direction. As we go into 2024, we also look to get some promotional exams, but be mindful of the promotional exams. I want to make sure that we have a well-balanced police department before we promote too many people. I don't want to be top heavy. I think we'd be doing a disservice to the city and our officers if we promoted too many people, and if we don't have enough police officers to handle the call volume. So, it's a balancing act, and it would be irresponsible of me to not take into account the need for call officers to respond for call for service. But we're weighing all those options. But we're gonna, like I've said throughout my time as the police chief, and even before, we have to deal with our current reality. We have to deal with the reality that we are confronted with. I would love to have 400 plus police officers, but we don't. And, it's going to take us a while to get to that point. But until we get to that point, I have to be responsible with how we how we manage the police department. And I'm going to continue to do that. So with that, I'll take any questions. And then Captain Cummins is here. He's excited to be here to talk about the the efforts that we've made to address the tractor trailers and boats and other issues regarding things like that. So I'll take any questions if you have at this point.
Any questions for the chief before we hear from Captain Cummings?
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Cruz.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for sharing, Chief Porter. I do have a question. You were talking about that we are 6% above from last year regarding violent crimes, or overall?
Overall,
As far as Okay, so how are ShotSpotter, how is that being tracked? Is that part of the shootings in Bridgeport?
Yeah, so ShotSpotter, it's a system that indicates that shots have been fired, and what it does is
Yes.
allows us to get officers to the scenes more rapidly. And what we do with that ShotSpotter, so we have that NIBIN system now too. So we collect the shell casings, we put them in a NIBIN system, and we try to match them to any other shootings. It's a system that I think is effective. It allows us to get indications of shots being fired when we might not otherwise get those if citizens aren't calling those in. So it's effective. I think you're going to see us expand more with it now. We have our own NIBIN system. One of the things we're looking to do, our detective bureau, we're looking to hire an analyst to analyze the different shell casings, when the shots come off, to kind of triangulate where these are coming from and identify suspects. So it's an effective tool, and there's ways that we can use it more. And I think that we're starting to explore that at this point.
So I think I probably didn't ask the question correctly. I'm aware with the ShotSpotter,
Okay.
it is an effective tool. I think that what I was asking was, are ShotSpotter's indicators taken into account with your statistics as far as shooting is concerned?
So that's not a stat we keep in terms of with the shootings. There's actual shooting incidents where there's a person that was struck, but that's a separate accounting of shots being fired. I can get those stats. That's not something we publish. We do our uniform crime report, and that's not one of the areas that we cover in our ShotSpotter.
And so, and my next question is, because it's so effective, how is the Fusion Center being currently managed? Or, I mean, because I understand that patrol officers are widely spread throughout the city. So is that being short managed as a result?
So the Fusion Center, just like other areas of the department, we've had to bring some of those officers out because of manpower issues, but we do have a cache of officers that work in the Fusion Center. One of the things we are looking to do is civilianize and get some more civilian positions in that Fusion Center. So that will give us more options and more individuals who could use that technology to help us out.
Okay.
And I just want to
thank you.
I just want to give you a little, so as it relates to our crime stats, so we're 6% overall ahead of this time last year. And what seems to be driving our stats this year, if I had some glasses, I could see a little better, but our burglaries are slightly up. Our burglaries are up 30%. And that's what's driving it, as well as our felony larcenies are up 18%. Those are the two that are driving us the most. But like, for instance, our robberies are down 22%. And so what's driving that 6% increase, I believe, is the increase in the number of burglaries, and as well as the felony larcenies are the ones driving those. But if you look at for our stats for the last 28 days and week to date, those areas have also come down to some degree. So we were trending in the right direction the last several months. But it's of concern, obviously, the burglaries, and it's something that we have to focus on, and that's something we'll be looking to do better in the coming year.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Captain?
Yes, are you able to hear me? I'm working off my phone. I had no audio on my computer.
Yeah.
Could hear you loud and clear.
Excuse me. Before I turn it over to Captain Cummings, I just wanted to say that tomorrow, in front of the police department, we'll be having with the Maryland Goldstone Foundation, we'll be doing a toy giveaway. So if anybody's in the area, feel free to come. And if I don't see any of you, have a happy, safe holiday. And we look forward to seeing you in 2024 doing, bigger and better things with the Bridgeport Police Department.
Chief, I had a couple of questions before.
Yeah, I'm
jump off.
sorry, Chief. I didn't
That's
realize
okay.
you were going to be jumping off before
No, I'm going to stay on.
the captain started. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I had a few. This is Commissioner Williams. I had a few questions
Hi,
for you,
Commissioner.
Chief. Hi, happy holidays to all. My questions were concerning when you talked about the red light cameras.
Mhm.
And you mentioned, will there be a study before that is being considered to put in place?
Yeah,
Would they-
Commissioner, that's a great question. So yeah, so what the study would do is we would do a study to see areas where it would be more beneficial, like where we have our high incidence of accidents and things like that. But yeah, so and also the study will be done to see what impact it might have on our community, positive or negative, and those things that we you know we're going to be transparent about if we undertake this initiative and get the community's feedback to see how they feel about something like this.
Because there's a cost associated to that.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, if they're running the red light, they would be automatically given a
Oh,
ticket.
Yeah, so they'd be given a ticket. But one of the things that I know about the program, and I don't want to profess to know everything about the program, is that ultimately a police officer will review all of the video before determine if a ticket is issued. It won't be an
Okay.
automatic issuance of the ticket from some third party.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
The other question is, and this is, I'm just from old school, but what
Okay.
is that? There's a range on Stratford Avenue. Is that still operable or not? Is that
Yeah,
not?
that is actually. I'm sorry. Yes, that's still operable. It's a privately owned range. We
Okay,
actually
it's private.
we rent space there. We pay rent to we pay to
Okay.
use that. We don't have our own.
Okay, I mean, I think that might be duly noted because some people believe that it is part of the police department.
Yeah.
So when seeking a new, seeking our own, range for the police department, that might be noted in there that, and how long the police department has been renting and the cost, do a cost analysis. And that
Mhm.
might drive home that, if the police department has been using it for 30 years, what's the cost of the rent?
Yeah, no,
Versus, having our own range.
no, those are excellent points. And so since my time, we've used the range in Monroe, we've used the range in Stratford, we've
Right.
used the Stratford Department, we've used the Fairfield Police Department, and we currently use the police department. I mean, the range on Stratford Avenue. And cost is definitely a main factor, but also the ability to get our officers in there to train and to practice, to get better. And so those are all factors that I think we need to consider as well when we consider a range.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. Because if there's a cost associated to utilizing those ranges, I think that is vital. And as well as having the own access to go when you need to and not have to schedule it. And,
Mhm.
during that renting time.
Mhm.
And lastly, I know we haven't spoken much about the overtime with the shortage. Is the
Mhm.
overtime still high or is it
So
leveling out or?
no, so the last time I examined the overtime, we're basically at the same pace we were last year.
Okay.
But the majority of the overtime that we are spending is to backfill cars for vacancies. We are doing
Okay.
some overtime for some say downtown details. When there's crime spikes, we're using overtime for things like that. One of the things that I'm going to do this year with the overtime and working with Nestor is we're going to really lay out all the overtime spent for like our special events that I really want to, so we're going to lay all of those different events that require inside overtime be paid to officers. So we're going to lay all of that out. But the majority of our overtime continues to be spent to backfill for vacancies, which we have a good number of. And when we do special details, like one of the special details we've been doing is downtown because of the uptick in the our nightlife activity. We've been having police officers add extra coverage for downtown, just so that people feel safe coming to downtown. But yeah, the majority of our overtime continues to be driven by our vacancies. One of the things we are looking to do, and I think they just started advertising the position, we are looking to get a dedicated person for the police department to be our fiscal person, to give us monthly reports, to show us where we're spending our money and what we're getting from that money, and also to help us with the obtaining and administering of grants as well. So I think that's going to help us become much more cost effective and efficient with the use of overtime.
Great.
And
Thank you
Chief,
so much.
if I understand correctly, you've been pretty successful in when overtime is doled out. For instance, if you have 8 hours of overtime doled out, that person is working 8 hours. Or if it's 4 hours of overtime, that person is working 4 hours. I understand you've been eliminating the situations where a uniformed officer or any officer would be putting in an extra hours worth of time and be entitled to 4 or 8 hours of overtime. You're getting a handle on that, from what I understand.
Yeah, we are. You know, sometimes it's tough. We have to watch it. But we're doing that. One of the things that we really push hard for and advocate hard for is to get as much out of we can of our regular 8 hours before we have to go to 8 overtime. But obviously, in the police business, sometimes those things just happen. Things occur, and we have to stay over or we have to come in. But you know, I can assure you that we're being as responsible as we possibly can with the use of the city citizens overtime. You know, I think getting a dedicated fiscal person will help us manage that even better, where we'll have someone whose eyes are just focused on our not only our overtime, but how we you know, how much money we spend on training and how much money we spend on other things that will make us more cost effective and efficient, I think.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the chief before we move on to the captain? Okay, Captain, thanks for your patience.
Okay. Good evening. So the chief wanted me to address the issue of the tractor trailers. It's becoming a huge problem, and it's been growing and growing and growing, and it seems like they've become comfortable parking throughout the city. And what we've been doing, I'm responsible for the C shift, which is basically 4 to 12, and the A shift, which is the midnight shift. What we're doing is we have a fine. It's a $130 fine. It's for overnight parking for a vehicle over 10,000 pounds. And what I've been doing is I have my officers going out on the midnight shift because there's a time limit on when you can tag these vehicles, and it's basically on the midnight shift. So I have them go into these areas throughout the city, especially the east side. You see them all along Crescent, Waterview. And for now, they're handing out these tickets. But I mean, hopefully we could work with the city and come to a long-term solution, maybe someplace they can designate where we can put these vehicles where it'll be okay. And we don't have to keep tagging them, because I mean, we have, I think, Bud's Towing. And if it comes to towing, they don't want to tow them either because they have nowhere to store these large vehicles either. So I don't know if we could talk to the city attorneys and probably check with other towns and see what they're doing for these larger vehicles that are starting to park throughout the whole city and causing a nuisance. We're actually making them move if it's deemed a hazard. Like if you've noticed, we've had some that park underneath the highways, and talking to the fire department, if one of those vehicles was to ignite, catch fire, it would cause a huge hazard for the highway traffic and the highway itself structure. So we've been trying to move them even on the day shift, relaying that they can't park underneath the highways. Another area is right under on Main Street by Catherine Street. They've become comfortable parking underneath there. So we're going to keep sticking at it, and hopefully we can come to a solution. But for now, what we've been doing, like I said, is we're tagging them. They're getting a $130 fine if they're parked overnight. That's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for the captain? Okay.
Commissioner,
Cruz? I'm sorry, Chief, please, why don't you follow up on that, and then we'll
Yeah,
go to
I just want
Commissioner Cruz.
I'm sorry. Yes, Commissioner. So this has been the tractor trailer issue. Has been a issue that's been going on for several years now. And we want to work with the tractor trailer owners. I guess a lot of them are owner operators, and they may live in and around the city. But we just can't have them park in areas that cause a hazard or create an obstruction. So unfortunately, we've had to, and it's been a collective effort between the traffic division and the day shift and the overnight shift, where we've been trying to really go at those as best we can. But we want to work with them, and you know, we encourage them to contact us if they have any suggestions or solutions. But we just can't have them in certain areas, and we're going to continue to be aggressive at going after those. And not only those, the boats. I know we've been working with some of our city council to address individuals who, for some reason, I feel like they could dump boats and other items in the city of Bridgeport. And, you know, we have made some arrests in terms of some dumping. But yes, it's a ongoing issue regarding some of these activities of parking and also dropping off boats and things like that in the city of Bridgeport.
Commissioner Cruz, you had a question?
I'll pass. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Captain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain, and thank you,
Thank you.
Chief.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, Lieutenant, do we have anybody from the union here?
No, not today.
Okay, nothing from the union. Internal Affairs, I spoke with Lieutenant Rosen, and he will have an annual report for us at our January meeting. Moving on, we have under reports, the clerk's report on the status of pending matters. We have one second step that you'd like to get scheduled. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. And this is this pretty much it, or we have anything else in the hopper?
I did get a late email today around 2 p.m. For a Burroughs hearing that we also need to schedule.
Okay. It would be possible, assuming that the Barrows matter won't be too lengthy, it might be possible to schedule both items at the same evening.
I didn't get to review it personally, but from speaking to Internal Affairs, it does not, it seems like a minor charge, yes.
Okay, all right. So let's look at that, if we can. Our regularly scheduled meeting in January is the 16th, is that
Yes.
is that correct? Yes, the 16th. Would folks be available either the previous week or later that week? I know that the following Tuesday is going to be tough for a few of us, but
What date are we talking? I'm sorry.
any,
I don't-
well, but just for the sake of throwing something out there, Wednesday, the 17th, I believe, or Thursday, the 18th.
The 17th sounds fine to me.
17th, it'd be the day after our regular scheduled meeting. Everybody's pretty good with that? Okay,
Mhm.
all right. Now, Commissioner Williams, I
No.
see you're shaking your head.
Wednesdays are not good for me.
Wednesdays are not good. Anybody have an issue with Thursdays?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
I'll confirm with the OIA officers as well.
Okay, let's try to set that up and you can
I mean,
send
you
us
can
an up-
use those two dates. I just won't be able to make Wednesdays.
No, I understand that. We'll now these are in person, Commissioner Williams. You understand that, right?
Correct. That's why I won't be able to make Wednesdays because I'll be in New Haven.
Gotcha.
And when I get from New Haven, it's at 5 o'clock. So
But
there's no way to make it.
Thursday in person's no issue. Okay,
no issues.
good
Correct.
to hear that. Sorry. So we at least tentatively try to schedule it for the Thursday, the 18th. Anything else, Lieutenant?
I do not believe so, not for me.
Okay, great. All right, first item under new business, we have a request from Council Member Anita Martinez to address the board. Anita, as you may know, is our past and once again council liaison to the board, one of probably two, I believe, but Councilwoman, nice to see you, and thanks for your patience. We sorry to get to you sooner, but let me give you the floor. I know you have an issue you want to address, and hopefully we can come to some kind of solution.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, for detectives, lieutenants, sergeants, and captains that are on. Happy holidays to you all. First and foremost, let me thank Captain Cummings on his report with regards to the trailers. The East End has been a large area where trailers, boats, and campers have been dumped, and they have been doing a phenomenal job with tagging them, ticketing them, and picking them up. within a 24 to 48 hour turnaround period. So kudos to the captain, because it does happen during his shift and he has been very effective. I was sworn in December 1st. I've been on it and they have been on it just as fast as I've been on it. So thank you, because this is a quality of life and it's very critical in the community when these boats, these trailers, and these trucks are all over the place. So thank you. Moving on, I'm going to address, there is a city business that has apparently applied for a towing license with the city of Bridgeport, and there's some issues that have to be corrected with the business as well as the city. So let me just go back to initially when I was on the council back in 2013, this towing issue came upon, and we worked on it a little bit, but then it fell through the cracks. So here we are again, addressing the towing issue that we have with the city of Bridgeport. So the towing ordinance, let's get right into this, has not been updated since 1993. That's an issue. The towing list was last updated in 2016. So in assisting this individual who's a business owner in my district, and trying to assist him with getting on the towing list, there are a few barriers that apparently he has come across. In studying quickly today, it looks to me that he is in compliance with his regulations according to the bill 2010 R0385, which was dated October 1st, 2010. According to what his requirements are, that apparently he still has missing, prior to this meeting, he had, I guess, a workers' comp certification that apparently he does not need because he's self-employed, but he can provide some insurance information. And the other issue was a site plan, which he does have, and he can provide that tomorrow. It was too big to scan to me or to even scan to our commissioner. But let me just read this into the record, which is General Statute 14-54, which applies to this individual, and it could be looked up by any commissioner or whomever is on. It does state that the local approval requirements do not apply to a transfer of ownership to a spouse, child, brother, sister, or parent of a licensee, a transfer of ownership to or from a corporation in which a spouse, child, brother, sister, or parent of a licensee has controlling interest, or a change in ownership involving the withdrawal of one or more partners from a partnership. So it is my understanding that this business has some zoning regulations apparently that have to be met. But according to the statute, which is a state statute, it doesn't look like that's the case. But whatever needs to be done, he's willing to do it. My request is that the board perhaps honors a provision temporarily until further detail of investigation is conducted to see if he's fully in compliance. He has submitted some documentation to our commissioner as well as to myself. I'm not sure if our commissioner has reviewed all of the documentation, but perhaps you all will make that decision. My other argument here is, as an elected official, the towing list has not been kept up accordingly. The towing regulations have not been kept up accordingly. And I don't want to see a small minority business be turned away from being able to tow in the city of Bridgeport because the protocol is not being followed properly. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
I agree, Anita. I know that this gentleman has been patient, and it's been a while since we've added to the toll list. I think we all understand there's a need to increase it. There's a need to offer opportunity as well. Like I say, it's been a while, and it was Deputy Chief Hannes was the last point person, to my knowledge, as far as towing was concerned. And it's everybody's responsibility, including the board, to make sure that the system is operating correctly. So I know through my own research what I've been told by the zoning department, because although this was previously a business that provided towing, there was zone changes in the previous business was allowed to operate by being grandfathered in, and the gentleman now would have to go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals in order to be approved by zoning to get his business going. I think he understands that, even though from what I'm hearing, the state statute may override it, but we need to determine that. In any case, the gentleman would have to go in front of ZBA, and there was a few other issues that were not necessarily the applicant's fault, because it wasn't explained correctly, but a few minor things. I know we already talked about the site plan, which I actually saw a copy of. We have to go through zoning, which we spoke about, including an on-site inspection, and a few other things. The workers' compensation insurance, which if it's determined that none is needed because he's self-employed. And a couple of smaller things. The application included driver's licenses that weren't necessarily clear, so we may have to reshoot those, and the payment issue, which I think he needs to realize, and for the board, what I'm talking about is the annual fee, which is payable every April. I don't know if it's April 1st or some other point during the month, but that is that's what starts the 12-month period, as I understand it. So as long as the applicant realizes that if he starts anytime before that, he may be, or my guess is that he would pay the annual fee, and then a short time later be stuck for another annual fee. What my thoughts were, at least from the board's perspective, since the application, with the exception of a few smaller items and zoning, and it was an existing business, and the gentleman has been patient with us. My suggestion, it would be for the board to approve the application from Mr. Cooper, and with the provisions that we spoke of, specifically conditional of the approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals, as well as any minor adjustments to the application that need to take place. Commissioner Cruz.
First, Councilwoman Anita, thank you for bringing this to our attention. When I hear you say commissioner, which were you referring to? One of this board's commissioner or a different commissioner? You kept saying commissioner.
Nope, I'm referring to the board, you guys.
Oh.
Commissioner.
Oh, I see. I thought it was one particular commissioner. And Commissioner Roach, are you proposing that we approve for this small minority business to start towing prior to the Zoning Board of Appeals?
No. I'm saying just as I said, we approve this with the conditions that he gets zoning approval, ZBA and otherwise, and the other items that may need to be amended at the application. I just don't want to hold up the gentleman anymore.
But
So
he-
how long do you think that that will take? Either
Well,
Councilwoman.
ZBA meets monthly. And I don't know off the top of my head, and Anita, correct me if you do, but I believe it's mid-month in January. I just don't know exactly what time of month they meet. So
No, but are you saying, the ducks are in order? You mentioned something about the workers' comp insurance, provided all the
well, there
information.
seems to be a workers' comp issue. He is self-employed, so he's under the impression that it's not needed. We want to make sure that that's the case.
Okay. Is that the only discrepancy on this towing list regulation? As you know, that we were part of the subcommittee,
Right.
and has that been upgraded? And
No,
have all
well,
those,
you know, I believe yourself, Commissioner Williams, and myself probably need to get the ball moving again there.
okay. All right.
Sir, I just looked it up, just for information that they meet the second Tuesday of each month.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Roach, is there any way that we can just table this? Because with all those things that you mentioned, the provisions and things that has to be in place, that we can table this until those matters are taken care of and then move to vote on this?
I'm just, we're just a small piece of the approval process. So I more than, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just, you know, I'm
No,
just
no, I
concerned
understand what you're saying.
There's
but
a
this
whole
is-
host of
This
things
isn't the
that
last,
you listed.
right, and this isn't the last step
No, I
necessarily.
agree with
I
moving
just-
the
yeah.
ball forward, but my concern is, along with Commissioner Cruz, is that, you know, if the zoning, let's just say if the zoning is not approved.
If zoning doesn't
Then that's
approve it,
gonna-
then whatever we do here is a moot point anyway.
Right, but what I'm saying is that we're putting something before, we're approving it, knowing all these things need to be put in place. And that kind of doesn't, for me, it doesn't feel right. I would prefer the applicant coming before us and needing the approval with all things have been done in order. Understanding he's been a previous, you know, on the towing list before, but
No.
now things.
He's never been on the towing list. There was an existing businesser that was. He's been trying to.
Correct, so, okay, so
Attempting
then
to
that
get
makes.
on the towing list.
Okay, so
He's been
that
he's been running into issues. And
right, so that even makes it different. That's a different approach, because I was under the impression when you said, I'm thinking he's an existing. He was there and he just has these things.
I'm sorry
things
if it wasn't,
So
if it wasn't
yeah.
clear. No.
So I would ask that we table this until those things are placed in order. I mean, that's just my opinion.
No,
Because I was under the impression that he was an existing tower. And then things changed and he had to get these things in order. That was my understanding. And then that makes me feel a little bit, you know.
No, I understand,
not-
but if you understand where I'm coming from, and my opinion on this is trying to move things along. We understand everything's going to be in place, and this is part of the process, or part of the approval process, not the end all. But all I'm saying is, from our end, we approve it, provided that the zoning department in ZBA gives it the okay. I mean, you can make a motion to, however you want to make a motion, but that I just want to be clear where I was coming from on this with my suggestion.
Okay, so in the motion, and I'm just saying, in the motion, there's like, let's just say there's 5 things. We need to list those 5 things in that motion, providing these 5 things are taken care of. The board, police commissioner will give the approval.
Okay, and I'm
All we
sorry.
need is a quorum. We can have a special meeting when all these things are in place.
Well, you can,
And it's not gonna happen tomorrow,
it-
it's gonna happen in January.
It's the board's pleasure. But, you know, again, all I was hoping to do was to kind of move things along for this gentleman. He's been frustrated by the lack of progress, through no fault of his own, really, but,
And listen, I empathize, you know,
Yep.
when people are self-employed, they need to make money. The fact of the matter is that there are some requirements that need to be met. And just because we don't approve them today, that doesn't mean we are holding him back because it's the Board of Appeals. And then they turn to us. And if all those ducks are in order, we give the stamp of approval, green light.
does anybody care to make a motion?
Dan, I can't hear.
Yeah, we can hear you. For the record, Commissioner Diaz has joined us. Can you hear us?
I guess not.
Okay, is anybody making a motion? Are there any further discussion? No one's making a motion.
I would make the motion
Okay,
that,
we're okay. No, I'm sorry. Please make a motion.
I would make a motion that in the event those, and again, I don't know how many areas, so if you can list those areas are taken care of, the police commissioner would approve Mr. Cooper.
And I'm sorry. So it's not a motion to table. You want to go over the items again. Are you making a motion to table or make a motion to approve?
I'm making a motion in the event those items that you listed
Mhm.
are to be taken care of, that the board of the police commissioner will approve Mr. Cooper.
Mean will approve or is
Will
approving.
approve.
So
Yeah.
okay,
Will
approve.
will approve,
Okay,
because
so-
those things,
So,
Yes.
so are we saying when this will take place?
Hold on, time out. So
Yep.
let me get some clarity. So, Commissioner Williams, I think what Commissioner Williams is saying, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she's saying she's willing to approve conditioned upon these other things being met, which is essentially what they're saying.
Which is what
Correct.
I threw out from the beginning, but.
But
then
she's saying she wants to be-
one's a motion to table, one's a motion to act.
But she's saying it's a motion to act, but she's conditioning it
And
on,
that's,
yeah.
and that was my suggestion from the beginning. Now the items were, of course, the zoning issue. The other was, application.
The site plan,
The site plan,
the on-site inspection, the workers' comp insurance, and the annual fee.
yes.
you said something about the driver's license, is that
Well,
included
the
in there?
driver's license, they need to be resent because they weren't all that clear.
Okay,
They were a little faded, that's all. I mean, that's,
that's, yeah, okay,
very,
that's not
Mickey
major.
Mouse stuff. Okay,
Okay,
all
okay,
right. So there's a motion to approve the application based on those conditions. Is that correct, Commissioner Williams?
correct,
Thank you.
correct.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, so the motion's been carried. Thank you, Councilwoman, or if you're staying with us, please feel free to. If you've got other business to take care of, we certainly understand.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Have a good,
Yeah.
have a good evening and happy holidays.
Merry
You too.
Christmas.
Congratulations on your
Bye-bye now.
reappointment and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, request from Detective Laura Acevedo, and I'm sorry, how do you pronounce the second part of your last name? I'm sorry,
It's okay,
Acevedo.
Rasuk. It's Rasuk.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I got that right.
Okay.
She's here to address the board regarding review and approval of an update of department policy GO 5.05, family violence investigations. thanks for joining us, Detective, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for having. So do you want me to go ahead or?
Please.
Okay, it's just that the policy says that, whenever a police officer responding to a family violence incident, they must complete, family violence. It's an offense report. And our policy says only if there's an arrest. But the law, which is Connecticut General Statute 46 B, Bravo dash 38D Delta, states that domestic violence form must complete a family violence offense, whether or not an arrest is made. So I spoke to, because I also teach domestic violence to the recruits. And when I came upon that, I brought to the attention of my sergeant, Lieutenant Lyons. So that's why I asked if they can modify, because it creates an issue in the long run where we can be held liable, because it says that anyone who fails to make such report can be fined up to $500. But also it's a liability if somebody gets killed because this form was not done and domestic violence unit could not see that it was a domestic violence incident report. So that's why I just asked for that to be modified.
Any questions, comments?
I have a question. Lieutenant, did you say, or Captain?
Detective.
Detective, I'm sorry. Detective, Acevedo Rezo, I was wrong. So I know it contradicts, right? The past practice based on what the policy indicates that you want to either modify it to coincide with the training. So if there's no arrest, they're still filling out a report, right? Just not a domestic violence offense report. Am I correct? Because they're showing up to a scene because of a call, right? They see no extenuating circumstances or evidence to make an arrest for domestic violence. That's the only time that policy says, or the state general statute says, that they must complete a violence offense report.
They must complete it whether an arrest is made or not. Meaning if the officer finds that, okay, it's a domestic violence, but I don't need to make an arrest, there's nothing really big, but I'm writing a report, then a domestic violence form has to accompany the report as well. So that's what the law calls for. Our policy said we only did it if there was an arrest.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, and it should coincide with the general statute.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion to approve the update.
I make a motion that
It's been
our
moved.
policy
Okay.
coincide with.
Motion has been made to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Diaz. All those in favor?
I have a question.
We're supposed to ask questions before we take the vote. Go right ahead, though, Commissioner Williams.
Why, I had my hand up before you made the motion. I put the little icon up and you still don't recognize
I
it.
don't see the icon. I'm sorry. I
gotta put
hate
it with that.
icons. I'm sorry. What's your question, Terry?
Normally we get a copy of the policy to review.
It's here.
Normally we
did.
It's
did.
yeah.
I did not.
Yeah, it was sent.
It's one of the items in the email that was sent. She had Lieutenant Lyons had separated all the issues and labeled them, and which is very helpful.
Yes,
I went.
we did get it.
You might have flipped through it.
Oh, I got
It's
it.
okay.
You
No,
got
we
it.
always.
I was looking. I'm sorry. That's why I was trying to. Okay, if everyone else got it. And
Along with the agenda and all the other items.
yep. Okay.
The page would be on page,
Let's see it.
the change should be on page 5.
Okay. My apologies. Okay, I'm good.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Motion's carried. Under old business, we have an item that was tabled at the last monthly meeting, which is the installation of a three-way stop at the intersection of Lafayette Street and Gregory Street. Gregory Street being one way, which I guess makes it a three-way, technically a three-way stop. I know, I believe the city traffic engineer in his report stated the lack of traffic would not be enough to warrant a request to this or an approval to this request. But I believe it was Commissioner Williams brought up the issue that between Bassick High School and some other development there, the chances of increased traffic seem to be at least a possibility. And I believe there was a motion to table and it was going to be resent to, we requested the city traffic engineer to address those concerns. To my knowledge, we haven't received anything back from the city traffic engineer, unless I'm mistaken, Lieutenant Lyons.
So I did speak to him briefly about our concerns, and what he stated was that usually when they do a new study on an area, like when the school's opening, which was the commissioner's concern, it takes about 6 months for traffic to settle. And then they do the new study on it. He's not opposed to doing a new study once it opens. But he said usually what they do is they wait for the business to stay open for a while because people in the area learn different routes and everything else, and then they reinvestigate the situation and open it. He mentioned that if you wanted to keep tabling it for that long, or after the school opens 6 months later, we can readdress it. Somebody, we can have another request go back into them and they can do the study again. So that's completely up to you.
Any comments? Thoughts? Questions?
I think it kind of be silly to kind of keep tabling it for 6 months. That's my take on it. Knowing this.
Okay. Everybody seem to agree?
I would make a motion to not approve the recommendation. Because I feel that there should be a stop sign and they should be there now.
Regardless, okay.
Regardless, they should be there now. Because you have in that area, you have about 5 churches. And on Sunday, it becomes congested. And when the ferry starts to open up, it gets congested in that area as well. And some people come up the one way, come up the wrong way, the one way as well.
Yeah, you did mention that last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So regardless of the business being open or not, it's still.
Yeah, it's still, it does need it.
I did address that as well with him. He stated that they do their studies Monday through Friday due to business times, and that everything else is considered a special event. I explained your concern, but that's, I mean, unfortunately, that's what
right. So Monday through Friday, that's just your regular business travel. On the weekends, they have the events. You got to remember the arenas over there. All those things are over there. And then when they start,
it's as you know, it's our call. So there is a motion on the floor, motion made by Commissioner Williams, which is to deny the request of the city traffic engineer and therefore have a three-way stop at Lafayette and Gregory.
Second.
Do we have a second? Is there any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the motion not to approve the recommendation has passed. Okay, moving on. Correspondence, we have none. We have one letter of appreciation for on behalf of police officers Pereira and Baldwin on the handling escort of a Charles Nisnatsky, and the letter is from his mother, Kathy Nisnatsky. Nothing under widow's pension. All right, under item 8A, we have several requests that have been recommended for approval. Items between 8A, Roman numeral 1 through 8. Unless you have any questions on it, I'll entertain a motion to combine those items under 8A and approve.
So move.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All the items under 8A are approved. Under 8B, we have two items. The first is the request of the city traffic engineer not to approve the installation of multi-way stop control at the intersection of Ogden Street and William Street. And I believe his argument includes it usually requires a minimum of 5 accidents that would have been correctable by multi-way stop are required in a 12-month period. Over the last 3 years, there was 2 in this year, 2 the previous year, and 1 in 2021. And all correctable actions were attributed to the failure to grant the right of way. He states that there is not enough volume, combined vehicular, pedestrian, bicycle volume entering the intersection from the minor street to qualify for this. But he is recommending a no parking here to corner sign to open up the line of sight.
Mhm.
Yeah, that I'm a little confused with that one too.
Usually, well, I'm sure if you ever approached it in trying to pull into an intersection where you don't have the right of way,
Yeah.
and there's a car close to
Yeah.
the corner, or in worst cases, if it's a SUV that you can't see around or
Can't
over,
see.
that's what he's suggesting. I guess that's what I'm assuming, that this could have been the issue that Ms. Woodstock
It's stating.
has put it in. So and again, he explains why he feels the multi-stop is not needed, but he is recommending a no parking here to corner sign be installed.
I'm just saying, to go through that effort, I would prefer the stop sign because of that area in William Street. If you know William Street, that's a heavy traffic area as well.
It's the area might be heavy traffic, but that particular intersection, it doesn't appear to be. And I've looked it up, online.
Mhm.
And I would tend to agree with the city traffic engineer.
So
So
correct me
in
if I'm-
So in essence, we're trying to avoid accidents because cars parked close to the corner, right? By having that no parking sign from here to
Well,
corner,
that, hopefully addresses that, yes.
right? And since there's not heavy traffic, then no need for a stop control. A stop sign.
Anybody care to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Farrow, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose, I'm gonna
Okay.
say.
All right. The
Cause I'm
motion's
looking,
the motion's carried by a vote of 4-1.
I mean, you can't change it anyway, but there is a two-way stop sign there. All they're
Yeah.
asking is for the other way is to put the other,
Well, there
Stop
has to
sign.
be, a two-way, at least a two-way stop sign. It's an intersection. So most of the intersections in the city are either 2 or 4.
right, so that's what I'm saying, so they're,
It's a
Ask-
2, they're asking for a 4.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you, they're asking
Okay.
for 4, but technically it would only be a 2 because there's already 2 there.
Well,
If I'm not-
they're
if I'm-
asking,
if I'm-
they're asking for a 4-way stop. I know they're only asking for 2 stop signs, but they're asking for the intersection to be a 4-way stop.
We're looking for 2 more.
Right, yeah,
Right.
that's all, I mean, I understand that, but the way it's worded,
Okay,
it made it seem like they needed the 4-way stop sign. When
Mhm.
you say that, they're really
Right.
only wanting
so
an
that's what
odd
they're asking. They're asking for a
to
multi-way.
change
Yeah,
it from the
exactly.
2.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. No, listen, I'm new at this, so I'm trying to learn the lingo. That's all. And I just want to say that when I looked at that Connecticut model policy, but it did not register as the violence, the family violence policy. I'm looking for, when I see
Oh, no,
policy,
it's
I'm
a-
looking for that in the
That's
name. So when I saw that, I didn't even look at it, honestly.
quite all right.
I was like, what's the motto? What's the motto?
No biggie. Last item on the agenda was the request of the city traffic engineer not to approve a handicap installation sign at 356 Connecticut Avenue. And the reason being, there is an existing driveway.
Do we wanna table until we get a letter? Or has that been done yet?
To my knowledge, no.
That's what we've normally done where there's
Yeah,
highways, right?
okay. There's a motion to table to allow the applicant to provide documentation that I would assume would not allow them access to the driveway.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
So a second, it's too bad we didn't have Councilperson Martinez still on it. I believe that's her district. We would have put her to work with that, but
the letter is wrong. There's just fair.
You have a question on the
Look it
floor.
up.
Tom
letter.
Lyons, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm looking at it at Google Maps. It is a 2-family house. There is a driveway, but it's a 2-family house. So this most likely is the tenant who may not have access to the driveway. And I would, Commissioner
Okay.
Diaz, that we get a letter stating that she has no access to her driveway.
There's a motion by Commissioner Diaz. I'm assuming that's a second.
Second.
Commissioner Lyons. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Lieutenant Lyons, if maybe you can notify the applicant if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Anything else, boys and girls?
Dan, I want to apologize to everybody. I was having a hell of a time trying to get on this computer.
Oh.
I hadn't used it in a long time. It's my wife's computer. I didn't know Google had to send me a phone. It turned into a million things.
Right.
I apologize to everybody for being late.
Last month I couldn't figure out anything. I think I got to call in by phone and you know.
That was my next thing, to use my phone,
It's,
but
you know, we're getting old, Hector.
No, I recommend basic training.
yeah. And Merry Christmas to everyone, okay?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, all you guys,
Thank you.
okay?
Merry
All right,
Christmas.
and,
Merry Christmas, everyone.
yes,
Happy holidays.
yeah.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn,
Have a good one.
anybody?
So move.
Moved. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Bye.
Bye.